Can you go ahead and state your name and age?
My name is Garry Pfantz, and I'm 73 years old.
Okay, let's get started. Describe your life in State Center. How long have you lived here? Did you grow up in town or in the country? How long has your family been in the area?
Well, to begin with, I was born in 1943, and I was born here in State Center. My folks lived in town at that time, and then they moved out west of town, about 1.5 miles on the north side, and I was raised out there. Went to school here. Back then it was State Center. I was the last class to graduate from State Center, and had an enjoyable time here in State Center going to school. I participated in quite a few athletics, did well at it, and had lots of friends. Always thought State Center was a pretty special place.
Well, good. What's your earliest memory of your life in State Center?
Well, thinking back, I suppose one of the most touching moments was I had a teacher in school by the name of Mrs. German, and Ron German, her husband, had a clothing store in town at the time, and I had lost my grandfather, and she took me under her wing at that time for that day, and that was a blessing.
Very nice, very nice. What is your favorite memory of growing up in State Center?
Back years ago, they had a store, or not a store, but a theater here, and I think it was right in this area. And I can remember my dad giving me a quarter, and I went to the show, and popcorn was a dime, and the show was a dime. And he gave me a quarter, and I gave him a nickel back. Imagine that.
Okay, are there any funny stories or memories or characters from your life in State Center that you want to tell me about?
Oh, yeah, there's been several, but probably one, and I'm not going to mention his name, but people that knew him will understand. This fella always came into the barbershop, and he didn't have any hair on top of his head. And, I'm just going to say it. His name was George Spears. And he come in, and he never would let me trim his eyebrows. And gosh, they were just getting longer and longer and longer. And so one day, and there were a few people in there, I just put my comb up here in behind it, between his head and his eyebrow, and pulled it out to see how long it was. And he got after me, right? Don't you trim those eyebrows? And I said, no, George, I'm just checking to see if they're long enough yet to comb up over your head. And I thought, everybody laughed, so they must have all thought it was kind of funny.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay. What were your favorite places to visit in town?
Well, my folks used to do grocery shopping at Watson's grocery store years ago. And as a child, young boy, I used to love to go there. And they always made life kind of interesting for me while I was there. And then there was a few people that used to sit in the back, and they had some chairs back there. And as a young lad, it was kind of fun to visit with them. So I enjoyed that. There was lots of people in this town that have quite interesting backgrounds. And, it's too bad. Some of that's probably lost. You know what I mean? It's too bad it really wasn't written down, a lot of the stuff that they went through and
I agree. Mm-hmm. What has changed the most during your time here in town?
Well, of course the school has. I think that's a great improvement. I think our Main Street is something to be very commendable. I think that that's come a long way from what it was a few years back. Those are probably two of the main things that I remember that I as I look on it, I think that those are very important things, and they seem to be doing well. There's a lot of towns, small towns, that haven't kept things up like we apparently have here, and I think we're very fortunate to have those things.
Okay, what advice would you give to current and future generations of families in State Center?
Probably the best place in the world to raise a family. Don't have to worry about drive-by shootings. Kids are pretty well known up and down in Main Street. If there is a problem, I'm sure somebody will convene and take care of an issue. You don't get that in a bigger town. You never get that in a bigger town. That's small town living.
Okay, who were your best friends?
You know, when I was in school, I had a lot of friends. I really tried to visit and talk with most of the students that were in my grade. And when I was in high school, I was class president for 4 years. So I got to meet and greet a lot of different students, and I enjoyed it.
Well, good. Well, good. Garry, you've shared a few stories from your childhood. Do you have any other favorite stories you can think of that you want to share?
Oh, I don't think not at this time anyway.
Okay.
Probably.
What are your best memories of grade school and high school? Anything else you want to add? You talked about your sports and being class president.
Yeah, I really enjoyed sports probably more than anything in school. But, there was a lot of friendships there that, you'll always have throughout your life that you made in high school and grade school. And one thing about a small town that I've noticed, my wife was from Marshalltown, and when they got in high school, they didn't know even everybody that was in their grade because they didn't have classes with them. Where here in a small town, you knew everybody that was in your grade. Besides, you probably knew everybody in the high school and part of the grade school, So I think that's really great,
Very true. Very true. What businesses do you most remember when you were growing up?
Well, like I said, probably Watson's was one of the main ones. But I do remember there was, I think, 3 car dealerships in town and 4 or 5 implement stores here in town.
Wow.
And these were all things that, created a little bit of interest when you'd go in them. Mm-hmm.
Okay, before I let you go, tell me a little bit about Garrys Barbershop. How long have you been here on State Center's Main Street?
Well, Garrys Barbershop has been here for a long time. I purchased it in 1970, I believe, but I had worked part-time there 3 years before buying it. And at that time, I also worked in Nevada. And my days were long. I would start in at 8 o'clock in the morning, open the shop in Nevada, stay there till 6, open this one up at 6:30 and run it till whenever they stopped coming. Might be 11:30 at night. Did that for 3 years. But I really enjoyed it, and it gave me a head start on life because I did well. And when I finally got around to buying the barbershop in 1970, I built a house the same year. Big moment in my life. Looked like the national debt. But we got through it, and I have been in this barbershop for, as near as I can recollect, about 47 years here. Okay? 47 years. So that's a long time.
And do you have any plans to retire?
None whatsoever, as long as my health is good.
Well, that is good news.
Yeah.
That is good news. Okay, well, thank you, Garry.
Oh, you're very welcome.